Today, we are not picking sides. Let's start again.
You've said today we about 50 times. It's like a Diddy remix.
Oh! Did you see that? When did that happen?
That's got to be on camera.
I don't even know what to do.
Ah, fantastic. Is it on there? You know, some days they just take a turn for the best.
Can you tell?
Did you just soak it?
It was everywhere.
This video?
Did you get that on camera?
Oh yeah, that's the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the most inclusive, non-controversial, something we can all agree on conversation today. That is, Jay.
Politics.
What's creepy about it?
Politics.
Politics with Ben and Jay.
Politics with Ben and Jay. That's the title. We're going to go through the housing platforms quickly because there's a lot of points here of, we'll call them the top three contenders.
The real three.
That could be perceived as rude.
No,
you can say that. I'm not going to
perceived
say
as
that.
rude. It's the real three who are likely to
Liberal,
actually get anywhere.
Conservative, NDP.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through the points. If we've got time, we can sprinkle a little 2 cents onto each. But these are the housing platforms that are, of course, most relevant to us that each party is going in with. Will they adhere to any or all of these points? Probably all irrelevant. However, this is what they're saying from this stage. This is what they're selling themselves on. Okay,
hit me with a good first one.
Liberal. We're going to start with the Liberals. Introduce first home savings account for Canadians under the age of 40 or 40 and under.
Sorry, Jay.
Under 40, yeah, so I guess I'm out. To save up to $40,000 towards their first home, deposit and withdrawals are tax-free. So that's in addition, I guess, to your RRSP contributions that reach $35,000. So now, a couple, 2 RSPs, max, $70,000. Maybe a couple, one of these each.
Okay, I'm going to preface this as well. These are all rolled out on a federal, nationwide basis. So unfortunately, how many of these are actually relevant? This one is somewhat relevant, but how many of these are actually going to be relevant to us in British Columbia, specifically Vancouver?
Subjective.
Highly subjective.
Okay, point 2. Give $1 billion in grants and loans to develop rent-to-own projects.
Okay, it's been interesting. Been in the UK. It has been very successful.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully that's an example of what's to come here.
Yeah.
Add the option of deferred mortgage loan to the first-time homebuyers incentive. So I guess that's like what happened when the pandemic came on. Deferred mortgage payments, maybe. Keep that around.
That's okay.
Reduce the price of home insurance by CMHC by 25%. It's nice.
Okay, I'm going to preface something here. Is my big thing that I'm personally looking at when I look at these things is, especially for Vancouver, it's not when you are a homeowner, it's getting into home ownership itself.
Of course.
So a lot of these incentives are once you own and you get this credit and et cetera like that. I'm actually looking at how it's affordable for somebody who doesn't own to own.
So that's the only type of thing they've referenced so far.
So, well, the home insurance,
CMHC, that's for when you get your mortgage and you need.
No, I get it. It's cheaper, but the affordability of housing is already astronomical here anyway.
Yeah, I know, but that assists in affordability. If you're needing a CMHC insured loan, double the home buyer's tax credit to $10,000.
It's $5,000 right now.
Yeah.
Hence, what double the home buyer's tax credit means.
Thank you so much. Spend $2 billion on
helpful, and also once again, once you already own a home.
Spend $2 billion on Indigenous housing. See Indigenous affairs. We're not going to go into that because that's going to be extremely long-winded, I'm sure, but that's on there. Liberals. I don't think any of the others mentioned that at all.
No, I think a lot of the platforms, not just for housing, they've gone into Indigenous,
of course, but we're just
aspects. So let's move on to just the housing
so we're
side.
not going to go into that again. Thank you. Build, preserve, or repair 1.4 million homes in 4 years, including more than double the funding for the National Housing Co-Investment Fund to $2.7 billion over 4 years, introducing multi-generational home renovation tax credit for families adding secondary units for relatives. That's got a few facets to it.
Really?
Yes.
Nothing escapes you.
That'll be interesting. Again, to your initial point, how much of this money gets sprinkled? Do they evenly distribute it via province and territory? Do they base it on tax bases? Blah, 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 blah. I don't know.
I actually don't know how they distribute it, but obviously these numbers sound great. 1.4
of course, but
million,
divided
billion.
by whatever starts to change things.
Exactly.
Introduce homebuyers' Bill of Rights that will ban blind bidding. So this will directly affect us as agents. Ban blind bidding, create a legal right to a home inspection. That'll be interesting. Ban new foreign ownership of homes for 2 years. We've seen a lot of foreign home ownership banning being discussed.
I think this is like clickbait almost. I think it's like a keyword or a key phrase just to get, because since the 20% came in, and again, I shouldn't really say that because this is federally, so that's nothing new to us, the imposing of restrictions on foreign buyers. But since the 20% came in here for us, and I believe in Toronto, we've seen a massive downward spiral in people purchasing from overseas. So the key word is in like, oh, that's going to be the market booster and that's what's going to make things affordable. I think it's a little bit too little too late.
Well, for us, maybe otherwhere in the country.
And again, this is why I preface this. Other places in the country, you can stop. Anyway, so there's that one. I'm not done.
No, I know.
I just want to be politics with Jay.
Oh, you're still talking about that point?
Yeah, there were multiple points there to talk about.
Okay, sorry. Politics with Jay does sound good though.
Legal right to a home inspection.
They already have a legal right. It's how. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly in the same way. You can.
How are you going to
inspection if you want?
Exactly. How are you going to keep your offer motivating to the seller if that's the case? Unless everyone has to get a home inspection now. Just to even the playing field. That would be interesting.
And ban blind bidding.
I've heard of this.
And I'm assuming this is referring to like a registration system for offers.
Yes, so that's what I've heard. And that's a way it could go.
That's a really good idea. I think that's a really good idea.
Any transparency that can be added, I think, is a good idea. I think we should just follow Aussie and do the auction.
Shock.
We should follow everything Australia does, center of the earth. However, in this specific case, auction. It's as clear as day as you can get.
Okay, I don't necessarily know if we should go that way, but something needs to be done because there is that's shady.
What is shady?
The idea of, I mean, we've all had it here, especially in Vancouver, where they're getting another offer. Oh, they've got another offer. Have they got another offer?
Never wanting to speak ill of.
What does that look like?
Other agents,
and but
you never know.
But it's also a reality that is the case sometimes that is used. And anyway,
yes. So that would be interesting. Adding clarity to that degree would be of value, I believe. Where was I? There. This one? Okay, introduce national tax of 1% annually on the value of non-resident, non-Canadian owned residential real estate that is vacant or underused.
We already have the empty homes tax.
We do. 2.5 billion and reallocate 1.3 billion in existing funding to help build, repair, or support 35,000 housing units. So that's a reno fund, maybe?
I take this
3.8 billion, again, divided over all the provinces and territories.
I take these next 2 points with a high grain of salt. Like
a small grain of salt? A high grain of salt is Okay. So
anyway, I take these with a grain of salt because unfortunately, and this is the hardest bit for Trudeau, is because they've been in since 2015 and the needle has not moved really at all on the housing crisis. These are a lot of promises that similar of the like have been promised before and not been followed through on.
Yes, I agree. Last point, reallocate $300 million from the Rental Construction Financing Initiative to help cover excess commercial property, help convert excess commercial property to rental housing. The Conservative platform, I will let you take the reins. What do they have coming?
Build 1 million homes in 3 years by switching 15% of federal real estate to housing, incentivize the private sector to give land for affordable housing, require higher density near federally funded transit. So that's interesting specifically to us because obviously we have a lot of transit in and around the area. So if those areas, their density is increased, I would say even further than what it is right now.
It's a value.
That brings more units and that brings, of course, more value. And especially if there's incentivization as well for the various different private sector to get on board with that as well. And that's really what we need here in Vancouver. We need more inventory. That's what we're struggling with. Alter the mortgage stress test requirements to help contractors, casual workers, etc. Remove stress tests for homeowners switching mortgage lenders.
Easier for domestic people to get money, yes.
Yeah.
Continue.
Create a federal residential ownership registry.
That ties into foreign owner thing, I guess. I thought we had that already. We have FinTrack. All the names are recorded, so I don't really get that. Keep going.
Stop foreigners who don't live in or aren't moving to Canada from owning homes for 2 years. It's pretty a broad statement, but we already have the foreign buyers tax here. Increase the home accessibility tax credit to $10,000. So essentially $10,000. I think every party is saying that as well. The one interesting thing I will say about the Conservatives that's not in this, but I've read, is that they've actually said the biggest problem with the housing crisis is level of inventory, specifically when talking about government, whether it's federal or provincial, basically allowing other Canadians to build homes for other Canadians. So we have a big problem with that in Vancouver. Anyone who's gone through the permit process knows how long it takes.
City Hall is the biggest problem here, in my opinion.
And so
the permitting process is ridiculous.
Again, that's where we kind of fall into it. So I like that they've actually kind of addressed that. NDP platform.
You want to do this or want me to?
You go.
Work towards ending homelessness within a decade. That's the broadest statement I've ever heard, and that would be nice, but I don't know how they
Again,
do
that could mean an awful lot.
Spend $14 billion building 500,000 units of affordable housing in the next 10 years, half of them in the next 5.
So affordable housing is homes that cost less than 30% of a household's income, but that's very subjective. That could be like co-op, rental, ownership.
Average income in Canada, I believe, is $55,000. 30% of that, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's going to be too applicable to our market personally.
Yeah.
Established fast start funds to streamline the application process to stimulate the creation of more co-op and non-profit social housing. Okay, so that's a social housing initiative.
And co-op buildings. I mean, they've said that they're going to work with CMHC on mortgage approvals for that, but typically a co-op right now, you need 35% down. And
I think there's one bank in BC or
that
Vancouver
will lend on it. So again, that's not, unless that drastically changes, that's going to be extremely difficult to actually help.
Enact a 20% foreign buyers tax on the sale of homes to non-Canadian citizens of permanent residence, or permanent residents, sorry.
Same as we've already got.
Provide up to $5,000 in annual rent subsidies for families. So that's a rental approach, interesting. Tighten rules on loans by Canada Mortgage and CMHC to help stop renovictions.
Again, that's very loose. Like, what are you going to try and do? Are you going to try and stop people renovating homes into like duplexes, for example, or are you going to basically make it a harder barrier to entry for people who are looking for that type of financing? Which I think, if that's the case, you're only going to add to the problem of supply.
Yeah, that's interesting. Waive the federal portion of the GST, HST on construction of new affordable rental units.
Again, depending on what the rental units are that are actually built, again, it's a lot more expensive to do it here than it is in, say, Calgary.
Reintroduce 30-year terms for mortgage backed on CMHC for entry-level homes, in brackets, whatever that means, which is party which the party says will allow for smaller monthly payments.
It's just a mortgage over 30 years instead of 25 years. But again, what entry level means, is this going to be entry level across Canada, city specific?
Similar to what we talked about before with the party transfer tax rebate. It doesn't really apply, the rebate doesn't apply because the prices are too high here.
Yeah.
Double the home buyer's tax credit, 10,000, they've all said that. Provide model co-ownership agreement and offer CMHC-backed mortgage for co-ownership of homes. They had that, I believe, 2 years ago, or something similar. So they want to go into business with you, be co-owners of this, of your first home.
They've still got that incentive, but since it took off,
I don't believe it was too heavily used.
So less than 10,000 in 2021. I think going up to like June, like less than 10,000 people across the country qualified and got it. So then this is what we're talking about, where the needle didn't move a lot under the Liberal government, so they're fighting more of an uphill battle on the housing side of things.
Last but not least, for the NDP...
No, we don't need to talk about the Green platform.
I'm not going to.
Okay.
Last but not least on the NDP, before rudely interrupted, establish a public beneficial ownership registry to increase transparency about property ownership with the aim of fighting money laundering and require the reporting of suspicious transactions. We already have that, which is FinTrack. I assumed FinTrack was federal. Maybe not. So those are the Coles notes of the housing platforms for each of the top 3 parties for the national election 2021. I think, as a departing note, that all of this is great. You've got to divide it out, all this big dollars, billions of dollars, divide it out, what provinces are getting what. And then, more importantly with us, we already have a lot of this in our province, which is they're doing a lot of their things. My belief, as said before, is our biggest issue is supply, taxation on new property. The government has multiple levels of taxation, which have some been talked about here, which I think need to be loosened, and just the City Hall. Takes a year to get a permit here. It's ridiculous. Add more people, streamline the bureaucracy.
Yeah, that's what's essentially going to help us, definitely. I mean, this platform for each of the parties, unfortunately, because of COVID, home prices did increase across the board in Canada. So before we had like Toronto, Vancouver, etc., complaining about the cost of housing, which is understandable, but you had the usually much more affordable cities not so concerned about housing affordability. Now with COVID, it's happened all across the board because people wanted more space, they wanted to move out of cities, so it's happened all across the board. So unfortunately, as per usual, I think a lot of these promises are more aimed at those less hub cities, we'll say. And I don't know how much we're going to see over here in Vancouver, but that's what they're saying, and I completely agree with you on how to fix it here. And until that happens, we're going to be seeing much of a muchness of our Vancouver
How do
cycle.
you think we can fix the Vancouver market? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Federal, provincial, taxes, bureaucracy? What is it? Anyway, thank you. Happy voting, everyone. Everyone get out there. Play your part as a Canadian.
It's the worst commercial for voting of all time. Cut it there, please.